Okay, everyone. So today I am interviewing Adrienne Farrow, and Adrienne is an expert in all things Google. So if you are looking to save time, if you want to know a little bit of like some AI tips or some tips and tricks for saving time using Google products, this is the interview for you. And I highly recommend if you are a Teachers Pay Teachers seller that you definitely watch this interview because Adrienne's amazing idea and part of her business is you can actually book like 30-minute slots and hour slots, and she will help you digitize your products. She is amazing. So without further ado, like, subscribe, let's get into it. Hey, teachers. So this interview is for you if you are looking for some tech hacks to help save you time, which I know you are interested in boosting your knowledge of Google for Education products, or maybe you're a teacher, author, or creator and would love to hear about why digitizing your products is the way to go. So in this episode, we are talking to Adrienne Farrow, who is an expert in all things Google, as well as helping teacher, authors, and creators make their products digital. Adrienne, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Great, great. It's been good. Weather's good, so we're always happy about that.
Fantastic.
So before we start, Adrienne, getting into nitty gritty, can you give our listeners like a bit of your history? Like, how did you kind of get to where you are today?
Yeah, definitely. So I became a teacher in 2011. And I was kind of always known as that techie one in the classroom. Like I was always trying out the new and latest things for the classroom. Like when we got the iPad card, I was the one finding the new apps and trying out the digital, products, all that stuff. And
Yeah.
then when Google started to really move towards the education space, kind of mid 2010s, that's when I kind of started to look more into Google. So I looked at getting Google certified. I looked at what I can do in the classroom with Google's products. And I started also training some of the teachers within my school about Google products because they were seeing what I was able to do. And so I was starting to work with them. And then when what I call the great digitization of 2020 happened, and we were all thrown into making our
Yep.
lives digital, that Google knowledge really came in handy because then I was able to, like, I was actually working in a special education classroom at the time for life
Okay.
skills students, so a really challenging population to work with online. So I had to really delve into that knowledge and see what I could do to help these students succeed in a distance learning format. And then I
Right.
started leading professional development for the staff. And I also started being a VA for teacher pay teacher authors, where I would start digitizing their products because everybody needed to make their products digital in
Yeah.
2020. So one thing led to another where I just started to delve into making this a full-time thing for myself. And decided to stay at home when my oldest was, I think she was 5 at the time, and I was pregnant with
Okay.
my youngest now. Because I wanted to spend more time with them and I wanted to
Yeah,
have
of
this time
course.
while they were young. And so now it's evolved into kind of two different components. One of me working with teacher authors on how best to digitize their products and how to take what they have as a paper pencil version
Right.
and make it into a digital product. And then I do coaching on the side, Google coaching, where I try and help not only teacher authors, but all entrepreneurs in general figure out how best to use Google for them and their business. And so I do Google coaching sessions, anything from like troubleshooting Google Forms to setting up new Google domains, anything in that like Google
That
online
space.
space that
Right.
and I work with a lot of educators who maybe didn't do technology in the classroom, or maybe they're just kind of apprehensive about technology in general and just are having trouble getting their feet wet. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, I can imagine you must have helped so many teachers, because so many teachers I know, definitely in 2020, that would have been, a godsend, having someone who you could just call up and be like, okay, what could I do here? So that's
Hmm.
brilliant that you saw that market, sort of that niche, and headed that direction. I
Yeah.
really want to talk to you about Google. So for like a lot of teachers, right, are regular users of Gmail, and I am a regular user of Gmail, but even when I was teaching, I still didn't know all the tricks and tips that Gmail could have given me to save time. So for those of us, well, which is like every teacher, what are some of the time saving tricks that teachers can or use or should be looking at when using Gmail?
So one of my favorite things is the labels function of Gmail. And I think labels and then filters also go with labels, and they're very underutilized. And labels are, you think of them just like, oh, it's going to color code your email and say, okay, this
Yeah.
is like a bright pink, whatnot. But really it's a folder system in Google. And so every label will collect all of those emails, and then when you click on the label, then you can see everything associated with that particular label. So if you spend the time at the beginning of the school year, or even like once, and then it can kind of just keep going, you can have yours organized in the fact you could have a label for each student. So then if you need to pull up the information for
From the
that particular
parent.
student, yeah, it would be really close right away. Your principal, that one uh, so you can always go and find your principal's emails. You can really think of it in a bunch of different ways, and then you can always archive labels. So if after a school year's done, you can archive those labels, so then they all go away. And then filters are what tells Gmail to automatically do things. So you can set
Oh,
up a filter so that anytime that one parent email address comes in, it's automatically labeled with that student's label. Or anytime your
oh.
principal's one comes in, you can automatically have it labeled. And then you can also do other things like automatically mark something as read so you don't see it in your inbox. I wouldn't recommend doing that with your principal's emails,
Yeah.
but you could.
But you could.
But you could. But you say you get that newsletter from an educational website all the time, and you like to have them, but you don't necessarily need to have them in your inbox all the time.
Right.
Anytime those come in, you could automatically have those labeled or marked as read. You can also star things or make them important. You can do multiple actions at one time. So those just, if
So
you take the
smart.
time to set those up at the beginning, when you're looking for one of those emails, like you said, for like a parent, for a student, you need to get all of that data because you have that really important meeting about that particular student. You can just go into that label folder and find all of those emails there, rather than having to search to make sure, do I have everything and whatnot.
Yeah, and I
So
like just before you go, I just wanted to
yeah.
say I would also encourage teachers to have a folder um that, or like a label, sorry, for positive emails from
Oh,
parents,
yes.
right? Like
Yes.
I always tell my colleagues, like, have a label that is like just positive emails, and immediately put them in there. So if you're really having a bad day, you can just read through those emails, because often we forget about them, and they get pushed down. So as soon as you were saying that, I'm like, I have to mention this.
Oh, that's a
And
great
all,
idea.
thank you. And those email lists too that you sign up for, they should all have a label and that filtered, so they automatically go into
Yes,
get out of your inbox. Anyway, sorry.
exactly. No, oh, no, that's a great idea. And you don't have to set up a filter for those labels. You can have the label there, and then when you get a positive email, just label that email as soon as you
There you
read it.
go. Perfect.
And then it goes in there, because, as much as I would love for us to set up an automatic filter for positive emails, I'm not quite sure how that
Yeah,
would
I
go.
don't think it would. I think you would definitely, yeah,
Yeah.
you'd have to put it into the right
Yeah.
label, like when it came
But-
through, for sure.
And make it your favorite color, so that's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. It's a good
you know,
idea.
And then the other thing is keyboard shortcuts. I'm a huge fan of keyboard shortcuts just across the board. Because if you memorize them, they really save you time, and you have to turn them on in Gmail, but they are there. So like you can click C for compose, or I believe it's R for reply. Some of those that just really can kind of just, instead of having you do multiple clicks, they can just be really quick and easy and get them done. So that's another one of my favorites. And then along those lines, they also have some other shortcuts, like you can schedule an email for later, so that you don't
Ooh.
have to like, so say you're writing your email at 11 p.m. at night, and obviously you don't want to send it at 11 p.m. at night, but you can write it and then you can schedule it so that it goes out at 9 a.m. in the morning, or you write it at the end of your school day, but you don't want to read that reply that evening, you can have it go at a certain time. So that's another huge one. And then one more is the undo function. I use
Oh
this
yes,
way
the
too
day
many.
I found that, that saved my life, I think.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, tell us about that one.
It should be turned on automatically, but if not, double check in your settings on your Gmail. But that is basically where, if you send the email, you have, I think it's like 5 seconds, maybe eight
Yeah,
seconds or
you can
something
you
like
can
that.
set it now.
That's right.
I don't know
That's right.
how high up it'll go, but like now you can
Yeah.
actually set it. You can say like 10 seconds or something.
Yeah. So then you go, and down in the little like left hand corner, it'll say sending, and then I'll say undo. And I
Yeah.
have done that so many times of like, oh my goodness, I forgot to do
Yeah.
that. Or oh my goodness, I want to double check. So you can click that undo. And yeah, that can save your bacon a couple
Yep. No,
times.
that's a must for sure. Okay, cool. Those are amazing, fantastic ideas. I love that. Okay, so going more into Google. So what are some of the other Google products that you think teachers should become more familiar with to help them save time if they aren't already?
So my number one is Google Forms, hands down
Mm,
Google Forms. I also think it's the easiest to get your feet wet if you're not really used to creating things within Google, because Google Forms is pretty straightforward, and it's also easy to create a useful Google form in about 30 minutes or less. But they can be used for a whole slew of things. So they can be used for quizzes and assessments and such, and you can have them automatically grade. And if you do multiple choice answers, it'll grade it for you, and you don't even have to go through and mark, and that will like save you
brilliant.
so much time.
Yeah.
If you do short answers, you can set it so that, and those are really good for math in particular, because you have to have a definite correct answer. Google is not smart enough to know like spelling errors and such. So if a
Mm,
student misspelled something and it was like a short word answer, that would be automatically marked as wrong. So that one, depending on your grade level, is kind of hit or miss on the short answer. But if you're doing
okay.
math and there's a definite correct answer, then short answer works well, because you can have them input 91, and mark 91 as the correct answer. So, and especially if you're using Google Classroom, it integrates really well. And so it will automatically put those grades into the Google Classroom backend, and you can release them to show students,
Wow.
and you can just see everybody's all in one. So you can just quickly go through and grab those scores. So, that is one of my top ones, because I mean, as teachers, how long has it taken us to grade things? I
Oh yeah.
mean, and it can be
Even
just
yeah.
mind
Even
numbing,
multiple choice, I was going to say, like even multiple choice still takes time, right?
Mhm.
To go through it. So,
Yeah. And it's can be really mind numbing just seeing the
yeah.
same thing over and over again. But you do want to get that quick snapshot of the data, because you want to see where your students are growing and what areas they need to be working on and such. So that alone can just save you hours and hours of time. Google Forms can be really simple, and they could be really complex. So you can do some fun things like go to a section based on the answer that they've chosen, and you can make escape room kind of style
Mm,
of things, where you can really have fun but still collect that data. And then they're also great for surveys with parents. They're great for student reflection feedbacks. They're great for just collecting any kind of data that you need to
yeah.
collect. And then they integrate with Sheets. So you can have all of your everything that's associated with that one form put into a spreadsheet so you can quickly and easily see it
Yeah.
in a spreadsheet format. And you can also link multiple forms to one Google Sheet. So if you could
Wow.
have all of your say you're a high school teacher and your period one, you can have a period one spreadsheet and all of the forms to do with period one are all on the same spreadsheet to help you stay organized.
That's
So there's a
amazing.
lot of things you can do with Google Forms to save you time.
I was just thinking when you said that, like the amount of times that I had students come up to my desk and have to type an answer for like, I don't know, their favorite thing they did that year. So I can collect the data for the end of the year assembly or
Mhm.
something, right? And I'm just like,
Yeah.
wow, I could have actually just given them a Google form and then they all put it there and it's automatically, on Google Sheets. And when you said the escape room, I actually have created an escape room on Teachers Pay Teachers for figurative language. And it's one of my best sellers. So
Mhm.
it's definitely something and it really wasn't that hard to figure out how to do. Like I watched a few tutorials, but it
Mhm.
was fun and definitely something to think about for the teacher authors out there for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
And any tips like with Google Calendar or even going back to Sheets, like maybe let's start with Google Calendar. Any tips there? Because I know a lot
Yeah.
of teachers are using that.
So a couple ones that I have is that Google Calendar allows you to set your working hours, which I highly recommend, especially when we think about, teacher burnout and mindset
Yeah.
and everything like that. Like you can set it for your set contract hours. So anything that's outside of those hours will be either automatically declined or they will put like a pending on it or there's some different functions there. So that's one way of really maintaining that that work life balance is not
Mm,
letting your calendar be completely open but setting those set working hours. And you could also,
good.
we do know that sometimes those meetings are slightly over, before or after. So you could, widen it a little bit depending on your needs. But it's a really great way of just being like, no, this is when I work. This is when you're
Yep.
allowed to set.
Set the boundaries.
Yep,
That's key.
exactly. So let Google do it for you instead of,
Yeah.
yourself. So there's also appointment slots that you can set up. So if you want to give parents the opportunity to book a time with you for a
Okay.
conference, whether it's like, I'm available for 1 hour after school, you can set a 15-minute conference. You can then send them that link and then they can book us time with you versus having to like go back and forth via email to find that best time. You can have that automatically set up with
That is
Google. Yeah.
fantastic because I've seen that with business owners as well, like with entrepreneurs, like, oh, well, here's my calendar, right? But with teachers, we're always
Mhm,
like just emailing back and forth, saying, okay, what's good, or the parent has to come sign on your door, back like old
mhm.
school, and then you have to enter everything in. So if you can just like send them the calendar, and then it's like first come first serve, right?
Yep,
So
yep.
that's perfect.
And
I love
Google
that.
will read like the two together. So say you have appointment slots and you get a meeting scheduled for your, school at 4 o'clock. So your 4 o'clock appointment slot is no longer valid. It won't allow a parent to sign up for that 4 o'clock appointment slot because you have
Amazing.
that other meeting scheduled. So that is a huge time saver because who wants to
Yeah.
email back and forth to find a
Yeah.
time that works?
No, yeah, it's the worst.
Yeah. And then my last tip for calendar is that Google has a free task management system called Google Tasks that's integrated. And
Okay.
it used to be in the sidebar and it was kind of this like thing that just kind of hung out there. Now they've integrated it into calendar so you can toggle back and forth at the top between your tasks and your Google Calendar.
Oh, I'm
And
really
then
good at
if
that.
you set on Google Tasks, if you set a due date for whatever task, or say it's like a recurring one where you want a reminder all the time,
Yeah.
then it will put that onto your Google Calendar. So it creates a new task calendar down below so you can see
Wow.
those tasks right there. So that could be really great for like thinking about me as an special education teacher. I could have, anything to do with my caseload and my IEPs that I have to do.
Yeah.
And then I would see if I'm looking at my calendar all the time, I would see those tasks clearly written, put on my calendar so that it could refresh my memory of what needs to happen. And
Yeah.
there
And
is
it
an
probably
app.
does like reminders too, right? Like you
Mhm,
probably
mhm.
can set like a timer, like not a timer, but like yeah, where it reminds you. So if you do
Yep,
have something important to come up, um, can definitely set that up. Yeah, and I love
yep.
that.
And there's an app for it as well. So you can put in your tasks on the go as you remember. And then if you have an Apple Watch, I have one, it'll ping you for those reminders
Yeah.
as well on your Apple Watch. So
Is this similar to Google Keep or is that different? Is it the same thing as Google Keep or is Google
no,
Keep a little bit different?
Google Keep's a little bit different. Think of Google Keep kind of like a virtual bulletin board. So you
Okay.
have post-it notes and notes everywhere. And there is a reminder feature to those notes where you can have them remind you about a certain thing. But this is just like if you're familiar with Todoist or just a
Yes.
very basic like task management system,
Okay.
it's just a list where you can put all your tasks, but you can do tasks and subtasks. And you can even have like your main task have one due date and your subtasks have different due dates. And
Oh,
then
nice.
whatever program you're in Google on the sidebar, there's like a little arrow in the lower right hand corner that will like pull it out and pull it back in. There's the task logo there. So you can see your tasks in any program that you're in. And you can even drag emails from your Gmail over to Google Tasks, which is pretty cool. There's a
That
keyboard
is,
shortcut for that too, but I can't remember. But you can then, if you have an email that's come up that is something that you need to remember, it'll put that into tasks and then it'll link it to that email as well.
yeah, I like your idea with for people to think about, for teachers to think about what are the shortcuts that, or not the shortcuts, but what are the functions that they are using the most on their
Mm-hmm.
keyboard and learn those, like learn
Yes,
those first. Because I remember when I have a Mac and
me
just
too.
learning how to shortcut a screenshot has like saved me
Mm-hmm.
so much time.
Oh, I use that one all the time too. I
Yeah.
have and I'll give you the link to include, but I have a freebie that is the ultimate guide to Google keyboard shortcuts.
Oh, amazing.
Um
Oh yeah, we'll
and
pop that
it
in for
is
sure.
a curated copy of like basically because there is so many of them. So I have found the ones that are either the most useful or the most used, and I've put it and broken it down to like Gmail and Drive and like overarching Google. And I just highly recommend like find a handful, like one, two, three, somewhere in there of
Yeah.
ones that like you said, the functions you use the most often.
Yeah,
Practice those, get those to muscle memory, then add a
exactly.
new one because it could get so overwhelming. But for me,
Exactly.
I use the undo one all the time. So Command Z. I use like bolding all the time. So Command B or Control if you're on a Mac. I mean, excuse me, a
Yeah.
PC. Duplicate. I've gotten a lot of people that ask me, how can you just do that so quickly? Keyboard
Yeah.
shortcuts.
Yeah, it is. And it literally is just like you said, like committing it to muscle memory. It's not about learning all 57. It's start with the ones um, and then work from there. I've even like one of mine was when I close a tab and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I didn't mean to close that tab. And now I know how to reopen a tab just from shortcuts.
Yep.
And it's like, go find the shortcuts and learn what are the ones that you use and start there because I really feel it is a huge
Huge
time
timers.
saver for sure. Oh yeah.
Yep. 100%. 100%.
Cool. And sheets, any
Um,
what do you like with sheets?
so I used to be super intimidated by sheets, like up until like real recently. And I think it was because it looks overwhelming and you think you have to
Mm,
do all of those formulas that are just kind of like, they're there, but you don't really
yeah.
know what's
It's like
going
grade
on and
12
such.
trigonometry again. You're just
Yeah.
like, I can't do
Yep.
it.
Right? So sheets can be really simple and it can be really complicated. So
Yeah.
you can do something so basic of like your class list in there and you can put check boxes and then just check them off as, you get something that is coming in. I have found Chat GPT actually to be a huge big help in helping
Okay.
me like overcome my fear sheets, if you will, I go into ChatGPT. I'm like, tell me how to do this. And then it'll
Oh,
actually
that's
give me the
good.
code to put in. And
I
so
love
I
that.
have created some really complicated sheets like for clients and such. And I used ChatGPT to help me. Like I had the vision of what I wanted it to do, and then
Right.
it helped. And then if I ran into an error, I would pop the code in and be like, well, the error is this. It's not doing this. And then it would re-spit out another one for me.
Right.
So don't I just say with sheets, always think with the end in mind, think about what you're trying to accomplish, what you want it to look like. And then you can always either go simple, meaning like you can just
Mhm.
have text and boxes and you can just write in them and that is fine. Life will go on. Or you can use something like ChatGPT, or even there's a lot of free things out there that will just help you with like, I am trying to do this. Tell me how to do this.
I love that.
One of the things that I provide is for both teachers and entrepreneurs, some really easy tips, tricks, hacks through my mini courses on what to do. And Sheets is a 2024 to-do list. So I will be having a mini course out on Sheets to
Awesome.
kind of show you what a simple version looks like and what a complicated version looks like. But really it's don't be afraid of it.
Yeah,
It's
don't be
pretty
afraid.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm very simple with sheets. I know how to do a few formulas with it, but I do like it, but I know it can do so much more, but I'm like for what I need it for, it's always been I work I manage it for how I can manage it,
Mhm.
right? So
Yeah.
I don't want to be too scared of it because I have used it. So I agree with you 100%. With
Yeah.
so linking into ChatGPT, like what are your AI products of the moment? What do you like? What's standing out to you?
as as googly as I am, I'm still on the chat GPT train.
I
I
know, I love
recently
it.
upgraded and paid for ChatGPT
Okay.
4, and it really is better than 3.5. It
They
is giving
say
me
it's
a
like miles better, really. What
it
is like
is
one example? Can you give me like one example of why it's better? Like what have you noticed?
so I use it a lot as an entrepreneur to help me like start like the copy for my landing pages or even captions for Instagram and such. It never seemed to really capture my voice, or it never really
Yeah.
seemed to capture like how I was trying to address my audience. And then as soon as I switched to 4, it started to sound more like me and give me things that I could work with. It wasn't frustrating me. It was giving me more like not robotic language,
Yeah,
just
yep. I know what you
and
mean.
so I felt so much more productive with ChatGPT 4. ChatGPT does have a add-on for sheets. I haven't played it around with it too much, but you can actually link it to cells and have it read other cells and then spit out
Oh,
content based off
that's
of
interesting.
it. So that's something that I'm, going to be playing around with in the future. And then, ChatGPT or just the like GPT aspect integrates with so many other different third party
Platforms. Yeah,
so much these days.
absolutely. So much.
Uh, yeah. So Google has their own. It used to be called Google Bard. They just rebranded it to Gemini. It's
Okay.
fine. I haven't really played around with it a ton compared to ChatGPT. It's something that I think that they're, obviously trying to compete with ChatGPT, but it's just not as mainstream as it yet,
Yeah.
The one that I am starting to play around with is called Duet AI. It's also Google. It is paid. And if you, I'm not quite sure how it works in the education realm yet. I know that some of my fellow trainers are looking at it a little bit more. But as a business owner, I can pay for it. And basically it'll help like within Google Sheets, I can have, it spit out AI images, or I can tell it within Google Sheets, Google Slides, it can spit out like AI images. Google Sheets, I can tell it I'm trying to create this kind of spreadsheet, and then it'll give me an outline of what it looks like and what to do. So it's much more like um Gemini is like a direct competitor with ChatGPT. Duet is like
Hmm.
within the Google tools, helping you to use AI to make those Google tools work for you.
Okay.
So Yeah.
That's
So
interesting.
definitely.
I noticed that Canva is also getting quite on board with the
Mhm.
AI. I don't know how much you use
Yep.
Canva, but I see that they're doing like they've got their own magic write and their own, like you
Mhm.
were saying, where you could create a photo. You can ask them what you want in their photo and they'll create it, or you can take something out of a photo, you could change something in a photo. So I can
Yeah,
see there's going to be a lot of competition moving forward. I mean, I think we're just at the tip of the iceberg right now for sure.
definitely. And I think kind of with going back to talking about sheets and stuff, like it's easy to get overwhelmed with AI because it's moving so
Mm-hmm.
fast. And it's easy to get overwhelmed with AI because all of the tools have their own AI version and such. So find the one that you like the best and stick with it and learn it. Like that's kind of what I've done with ChatGPT. Like why I haven't really played around with Gemini or whatnot yet is because I'm just invested in figuring out ChatGPT. I don't want to use my
Yeah.
brain bandwidth to go too far, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Because I've seen what people have figured out about Chat GPT, and it really can do so much more than you think based on the questions that you're asking. So I think you're making the right
Mhm.
move with that in that respect. With regards to teacher authors, and I think I just want to mention that teacher authors doesn't mean you've written a book and you're a teacher. Teacher
No.
authors, there you're creating content, right? You're out
Yes.
there and you're creating content. What should teacher authors, because there are quite a lot of them now, I mean, especially in the TPT or teachers pay teacher space, what should teacher authors be thinking about when it comes to their products and the future so that they can figure out like what is going to sell best in their niche?
So I think one of the main things is that the natural inclination after COVID ended and distance learning ended was like, no more digital. We're not doing digital. We're going to go back to paper and pencil.
Yeah.
And the reality of the situation is that, technology is here to stay. And
Yeah.
we want to create really great digital citizens in our children. And we want them to learn how to use technology appropriately. And so technology is being used in the classroom. And so it's easy to just go with what we're comfortable with and being like, I'm just going to create paper products or whatnot. And so it's really helpful to diversify what your modality is of how you're presenting your content to your buyers. Because if you're only doing PDF, something that is paper pencil in the classroom, and you're not looking at a digital component or a digital version, you're missing out on a whole chunk of buyers
Yeah.
that would buy if it's digital. And going along with that, like thinking about the end in mind of how the students are going to use it in the classroom and how the teachers are as well. I feel like a lot of times we get so excited about that idea of the content that we're
Mm.
creating and we're like, this is so exciting. But then when you come to execution, it doesn't quite make sense for who is on the receiving end. And so that's one of the things I've actually worked in coaching sessions with buyers is I've created this great digital escape room, but I'm having trouble explaining how to use it in the classroom. And then we look at it and I realize, well, what are your students actually trying to do with this? What are you going to have them do with it? If they have to access multiple Google Sheets or multiple Google Forms, that's going to create a lot of issues for them or create a lot of issues for the teacher. And
Right.
so we really have to think about that end in mind and how it's going to be used before we
Yeah.
even really start building it with the content. And then you're going to create a product that lasts. You're going to create a product that's going to
Exactly.
go with the test of time. It's going to be one that's going to be, told to other buyers to buy over and over again. So I think those are really my top two suggestions.
I think also like considering, adding a video explanation
Mhm.
possibly, or for the teacher, or, with a screen, even if you don't want to yourself to be on video, uh, videoing your screen,
Yeah.
right? Doing a
Yeah.
screen recording of you saying, okay, teachers, like if they get stuck at this, you could try this. And so then you have that sort of explanation, because I think moving forward, that is going to be something that can definitely help sell your
Mhm.
product for sure.
Yep.
Um, how can teacher authors find out what is selling in their niche? Like, should they be maximizing their product for SEO, which is search engine optimization, so your product gets found quickly? And what does that look like? So does TPT have an algorithm now? Like I've been told it does. So what would your advice be on that?
Well, kind of two parts so the first part with finding out what's selling in your niche, it's okay to do market research. It's okay to follow people in your same niche. You don't steal their ideas, obviously. You
Right.
don't idea mine, but you see what is working. And
Right.
there is an algorithm with TPT. It's kind of, still, kind of unknown exactly how it works and what is showing up, because when you're a seller, you get into your own search engine and it kind of reads off
Of
of your
course.
own information. So I recommend getting into like incognito and try and start searching,
Oh,
because then
that's a
it
good
doesn't
idea.
really go off of your own data. So like I know as me and my TPT store, or like when I search for like a lot of clip art and things. So it's going to start reading things that is not really going to affect what I'm trying to look at if I'm doing market research. So yeah, go incognito and then also look on social media or follow other sellers just to kind of get an idea. And you can also join like groups in Facebook for people who sell kind of in your same niche and everything like that. Like look at it as, you're a community. You are in competition, but you're also like collaborating together to really make the classroom a better place. So it's okay to,
Yeah.
yeah,
And make
okay to
life
look.
easier for teachers, right? I think
100%.
also like, if you don't have the TPT app, get that too,
Hmm.
because I know when I follow someone, the app will automatically recommend products
Hmm.
from that person. So if you go and find teachers that are in your niche and that are selling in the same way, and you follow them, then automatically they will, their products, if they come up with a new product, it will come to you, and then you can like do the market research on it, right? Just say, okay,
Yeah.
this is interesting. I like how they've done this.
Yeah.
Something I
Yeah.
could consider,
Yeah. Great
you know?
idea.
Yeah, thanks.
SEO side, I mean, keywords is always a huge thing to make sure that you have the right keywords and you're looking at what are people searching for. I'm not an SEO expert, especially within the teacher pay teacher niche, but my good friend Kristen Doyle is.
Okay.
And I highly recommend looking at her things. She has some free material and also some paid boot camps and coaching and things like that. And she's really the one who like delves into looking at what SEO looks like and what is trending now, and what is she has a great podcast as well. So the Savvy Teacher Seller. So that's not really my area of expertise, but I definitely can connect everyone with someone who is.
I'm going to write that down so you can put in the savvy
Yeah.
teacher seller. I love that. Okay, perfect. So tell us, yeah, with you, Adrienne, what courses are you offering at the moment?
Yeah, so my main one for teachers right now is the Digital Teacher Toolbox, and it's going to be a collection of mini courses that you can buy separately at the moment. First one is up, it's on Google Forms. So, like we talked about, Google Forms is the best place to start, gives you
Yeah.
some concrete ideas of what you can actually use Google Forms for in the classroom, and then it shows I use a bronze, silver, and gold. So, like beginning, intermediate, and advanced. So, like, what can you do with Google Forms that is in all of those levels? So that's up on my website right now. And then I'm working on a Google Slides version soon, but my current pet project has been productivity side. So everything
Hmm.
to do with Google and productivity. And so I'm going to have a membership coming out soon called My Go-To Membership. Should be out actually within the next week or two. Go-To stands for Google Tools.
Oh,
um,
cool.
and then I created in Google Sheets a dashboard to help. And this is great for teachers too, just to house everything you need in one spot using Google
Yeah.
Sheets. So all of those links that you get that you need to access really quickly, all of those documents you need to access really quickly. So it saves you time from like searching in your Google Drive or wherever you have this information. And it's only $5. So it's
Oh,
on my
wow,
website as well.
bargain.
It's called the Go-To Dashboard Challenge. So it's been a game changer for me and my business, and it's been fun to share that with everyone.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. And I'm going to put all of that in the show notes for sure, because I know that will help so many teachers. And um can teachers hire you if they need help with like just one thing on their product?
Mm-mm.
Like if they're creating a product and they're like, I can't get past this, I don't know what to do here. How does that work with you?
100%. I do one-on-one sessions that are both a half hour and an hour long. So that
Nice.
information is also on my website. My website's adriennefarrow.com. And so half hour ones are great for like that one like sticky thing. Hour longs are like for more complicated, or you have like multitude of questions, but
Yeah.
rarely do we not solve those issues in one of those two sessions. So yeah, the Google coaching sessions are one of my most popular services.
Yeah. Such a great idea. I love that. And I know you mentioned your website. Where else would be good to find you online if we wanted to connect with you?
Yep. So yep, my website, YouTube, I'm just my name, Adrienne Farrow. I
Okay.
have a lot of small videos there that tackle a variety of different things to do with Google in both the classroom and productivity oriented, etc. And then I'm on Instagram at the Adrienne Farrow. And then
Okay.
you can grab my ultimate guide to keyboard shortcuts on one of those places as well, which I'll give you the link for the show notes as well.
Yeah, perfect, perfect. And are there any books that you would recommend on either professional or personal development that you like?
Yeah, definitely. So the book that kind of started it all for me was Shakeup Learning by Kasey Bell. She's been
Okay.
in the Google digital space for a long time, and as the name suggests, it's kind of like let's shake up what the status quo is and look and see what technology can do for us with learning. So that's a great book to start if you're really looking at what can you do with technology in the classroom.
Right.
And she has a lot of great resources in the book and also online. Um, Part like kind of both personal and professional development. Building a Second Brain by Tiago Forte has been a new favorite for me recently.
Wow, that sounds interesting.
It's all about digital organization and making like an ecosystem for you online that works for you, so that you have everything you need at your fingertips in a digital, a second brain basically, so that you can take all of the stuff that's in your brain housing mental energy and have it in one place that you can go to. So the book's fantastic. And then he also has a lot of online resources. And then another one that I love is called The Power of When by Dr. Michael
Ooh.
Breus, I think is how you say his last name. And basically it looks at like, we all have a circadian rhythm of when we like to go to sleep and
Yeah.
wake up. And there's he calls them four different types. There's four different ones. There's one that is the most common, which is like you go to bed with the sunset and rise with the sunrise ish. But then there's
Yes.
people who are like more of an early morning riser and more of people who are more late night people. And then the book helps you identify what one works for you, but then gives you ideas
Hmm.
of when you're most productive during the day to do certain things.
Oh, that's
And
interesting.
so it's been it was an interesting book. When I was preparing for this, I was like, I need to go back and read that. But it kind of let me know, like, yeah, I'm most productive in the morning. So like, okay, I'm going to start scheduling the things that I need to get done in the mornings, because by the afternoon, my brain's tired. But then that might be more of a time for me to exercise, because then it helps my brain better. But yeah, he talks about like when to drink caffeine, when to have an
That's
argument, when
interesting.
to be so it's a
Wow.
really interesting book.
Ooh, okay. No, that sounds very interesting. Okay, and with regards to mindset, Adrian, how do you move yourself if you find yourself in a negative mindset? How do you move into a positive mindset? What are your strategies?
So this has been definitely like a huge focus of mine over the last like year and a half. I think the first thing is to breathe. It's
Mhm.
always, I always feel like when I get anxious, that's like the first thing that goes away. And so kind of taking that moment to stop and really like be intentional with my breath kind of helps like bring me back into
Mm-hmm.
the moment. Affirmations have been a huge thing for me. I try and choose one every month, and I try and have it posted if I can. I forgot to post mine for February, so I just looked over where I normally have it and it's not written there. But I also like have an affirmation app on my phone that can just kind of send me some reminders throughout the day, but just kind of is that intentional, bring me back to the present. A huge thing for me, and especially it was something I had to adopt during COVID times, is just reminding myself of what's in my control.
Yeah.
Because that's what anxiety, really, really spirals, is when you feel out of control. So I look at
Yeah.
like what's within my control. I can't control, for example, if you're a teacher author, you can't control people buying your products. You can't control
Right.
people getting on the website and buying it. But what you can control is optimizing it the best you can, creating the best product as you can. And so if you put more of your focus and even your mental energy on what you can control, and push it away from what you can't control, that helps bring you back to that center. And then also thinking of what the best case scenario is and what the most likely scenario is, because I
Ah, I
think
like that.
it's really, really easy to go to the worst case scenario, but we kind of forget of what is the most likely outcome going to be. And then if things go really well, what could be the best outcome? So that's been actually a new adoption for me, based off a conference I went to not too long ago.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And when people jump to the worst case scenario, well, what's your evidence, right? Like
Hmm.
your evidence for your worst case scenarios is usually like far less than your best case scenario. So rather say, okay, this is where we're gonna head. Just out of curiosity, what's your affirmation app called? Do you know?
For what? Sorry. Oh, the
Your
affirmation
app,
app.
yeah.
Oh, I would. So it was called. They just discontinued it, and they're still,
Oh,
for what I know, still for whatever reason, it's still running on my phone. I mean, on my watch. And so I'm thankful for that, but I'm not getting the notifications that I used to. I am is an affirmation app that I'm probably going to end up switching to. But yeah, the one I'm using is no longer used. They discontinued it at the end of 2023.
that's okay. What,
Sad.
yeah, it's too bad. I actually printed affirmations and I put them on my board here. But that's also something people can do is just even
Hmm.
screenshot, some affirmations and put them in their as their screensaver on their photos
Yes.
under an album, right? And then every day they're like pick an affirmation.
Yep.
So there's
Yep.
lots of ways, which is really good. And with regards to, things get chaotic, Adrienne, what's your go-to for staying calm?
I'm a planner. So just having
Love
that
it.
visual of my day, really helps me, because then I can kind of carve out times to rest or breathe or go for a walk, or just get more focused.
Yeah.
I use a wonderful planner called the Hustle Sanely Planner. Jess Massey is a great person to follow on Instagram. She's her system is called the peace. She wants everyone to have a peacefully productive life. So Hustle Stanley is her products, but it really helps me to visualize, like, okay, what are the top 3 things I want to accomplish today, and trying to make those actionable. And then what does my day look like, so that I can also try and make sure that what I put as my top 3 can be actually, feasible. So really just trying to just be centered again, work with what's in my control, what I
Yeah.
can do if it's chaotic. And then try and make sure that I feel accomplished in some way at the end of the day, so that I have that positive feeling.
Yeah, I think that's also important. Really, like it's easy to focus on what went wrong in the day, but can you try to focus on what went right? What were 3 things that actually, that you accomplished in the day, or that were, went better than expected, or
Hmm.
because those things also exist in
Yeah.
your day. So it's definitely, I think, important to try and shift that mindset if you do tend to worry at the end of the day, for people out there. And last question, what 3 things are you grateful for today?
Ah, so I think number one would be my family. I have 2 wonderful kids and a wonderful husband. I'm
Nice.
just very thankful for them every day. Coffee. I'm a big coffee drinker. And today it just felt like a day I needed coffee. So I'm very
Love
thankful for
it.
that. And then, um, I live in the desert. I live in Las Vegas, and we've had a couple days of rain. And even though
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily excited about the rain, even though I really would want the sunshine, and I can see that it's coming back, actually, we need the rain in the desert.
Yeah.
So I am thankful for the rain, because it's something that we actually need.
Well, Adrienne, I'm just so grateful that you came on the show today, and I really appreciate you for helping teachers embrace their digital side moving into the future. And I wish you incredible success and prosperity as you move forward. Yeah, and just really, I thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it.